TheReuPLive. I had a conversation with a friend of mine who, is from the belief that Tyre Nichols maybe needed to have some, if he didn't resist arrest or didn't run, maybe he wouldn't have put himself in that situation. And so, and I can see that to a certain extent, but again, nothing calls for, at the end of the day, someone losing their life over a traffic stop.
Because you are the ones that are supposed to diffuse a situation, not entice, even if they are running or even if they are being divisive. You are there to make peace. You're not there to excite the situation, to entice it and make it worse, even if they're doing all that. Because you hold the badge, you got the power. So you need to have the ones with the power hold the most responsibility, because he doesn't have a weapon, and because he's running, or you have to take responsibility for the power that you have in that badge. That badge is saying about, even if they're kicking, even if they're running, even if they're doing it, you are called to subdue the situation and bring it under control, not have it go out of control like that.
Welcome to the talk show, where we're kicking it and having fun on inspirational radio. The talk show, kicking it and having fun. So turn your radio up.
Just to kick things off this week, last week we talked about the unfortunate situation that happened with Tyre Nichols, and it was so weird, Sonia, because at the time we were talking about it, like the video hadn't come out yet. I knew I'd heard things about it. But when we got off the show, I think the video had just came out, and I said it on the show. I was a little torn about watching it from what I had heard, but I went ahead and did watch it, and it was probably more hurtful to watch than I even expected. So it really kind of just hurt my soul as far as seeing what was happening.
I myself, I couldn't watch it. I saw snippets. It was playing, but in my head, this is real life. This is real time. Like, this guy's losing his life. Wow. So I saw just maybe 2 minutes of it while they were, kicking them and stuff. I couldn't. I just watched that little piece of it, just watching, and I was like, no, I didn't watch the full video. Now, one of my sisters did, but the other one, I'm not sure if she saw it or not. But I saw that piece, and it was a lot. So I didn't.
Yeah, it was a whole lot. Definitely unnecessary. Definitely overboard. You mentioned the kicks and the hits. I think that was the part that got me the most, because he wasn't going anywhere. It was already multiple people holding him. Like, it just didn't make a lot of sense. So, and I know over the course of the week, there's been a lot of different rumors, and initially it was 5 police officers that were arrested or accused of this. The number jumped up to 7. And then there were a couple of EMT or emergency response people that are being looked at as well. So, again, like we said last week, as Christians, what do we do with situations like that? And the first thing that comes to mind is prayer. But practically, outside of prayer, like in that community, what are the type of things that we need to look at as a community to help change some of this? And so the show that I put up, or the title that I put up of that part of the segment last week was, it mentions systemic racism. And I know you and I talked a lot about the fact that it's going to take a change of mind, right? A change of mind for the people making the laws and the politics and how we interact in situations like that. And then I had a conversation with a friend of mine who, is from the belief that Tyre Nichols maybe, needed to have some, if he didn't resist arrest or didn't run, maybe he wouldn't have put himself in that situation. And so, and I can see that to a certain extent. But, again, nothing calls for, at the end of the day, someone losing their life over a traffic stop.
Because you are the ones that are supposed to diffuse a situation, not entice, even if they are running or even if they are being divisive. You are there to make peace. You're not there to excite the situation, to entice it and make it worse, even if they're doing all that. Because you hold the badge, you got the power. So you need to have the ones with the power hold the most responsibility, because he doesn't have a weapon, and because he's running, or you have to take responsibility for the power that you have in that badge. That badge is saying a lot. Even if they're kicking, even if they're running, even if they're doing it, you are called to subdue the situation and bring it under control, not have it go out of control like that as an officer. And we got a lot of good officers, because I saw a take from one good officer, and he was saying, man, every time we make one step ahead, stuff like this puts us 10 steps back, because we all look bad when one looks bad. He said we all take hits when stuff like this happened. He said, because he watched it, he was in tears. And he said, and I get up every day to protect, and he was a sergeant. And he was just saying how I get up every day to protect and serve. And when stuff like this happens, it brings the public's opinion of us down more and more, when most of us are not like that, but it's too many of us. So
right. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that was the other thing that I saw a lot this week, were other law officials speaking out and confirming that what that was is not what they signed up for or to be about, which is really good. And I think that's a part of as Christians, what we should look at, and what we talk about a lot is what are you seeing, right? So we have, looking at that video, we have a bad example of how to handle a situation, but then what that also showed, it brought out a lot of other police officers that have great examples of how to handle that situation, or how they would have handled that situation, right? And anything like this, regretfully, if we don't learn from it, if we don't do something different because of it, then it's a waste, right? It's a waste of life, and it's a waste of this situation. So definitely an opportunity to just kind of step in, really look at the policies, look at the process, look at, why did, and again, I still don't even understand why there were 5 up to 7 cops or police officers, needed for a traffic stop. It just, it seems like there's a lot to kind of look at the situation and kind of peel apart, and really understand what we're missing there. So again, definitely our prayers go out to the family, to all the people involved, and as a church, and as we continue the conversation today, we need to be more available for our community, especially when they go through hard times like this. And it's so funny, right? Okay, so we've been talking about Mike Todd, and I think I told you last week that I had never really listened to a Mike Todd, message, or Pastor Mike Todd's message. And so he's doing a series now called Kingdom.
So
King and then dumb.
And then D-U-M-B.
Right. And so, Carla and I actually watched the first part of that today. And this was the part that was, causing so much controversy over the last couple of weeks. And, it's so funny, because the YouTubers, or the people that we were talking about, Alan Parr's, Ruslan's, they were taking snippets of stuff. But I think if they really watched the whole thing in its entirety, maybe they would have gotten a different take or a different feeling with it. And I'm not saying they did or they didn't. It just doesn't seem like if they would have watched the whole, message, that some of what they got from some of their takes would not have probably been their takes if they really, watch the whole thing. So that's the first thing I would say. As Christians, we got to do a better job at stop looking at just snippets of stuff. Even the snippets didn't make sense for some of the comments that we heard, but when you look at the entire message, it really takes on, I think, a different perspective of things. But one of the things he was talking about in that message was us being infiltrated in different parts of the kingdom or different parts of society. So being in politics, being in the police force, being, on corporate boards and stuff, being in music rooms and, music productions and movie producing rooms, so that we can have influence on all these individual systems that have influence over our world that we live in.
Right.
I'm paraphrasing and I'm summing it up, but that was one of his messages. And, that's what I see. Like, we need more, believers in the police force making and in the positions of making decisions. You know what I mean? I know that there's a lot of police officers that want to do the right thing, that are Christians. I have a lot of friends that are police officers, and I know they want to do the right things. But, some of the leaders, some of the people who are writing the laws, those are the people that we need to be, a part of as a church, to really enact and make sure that we change some of the things that are happening out there. So that was kind of one of my takes from this situation as well. So
Definitely. We need to infiltrate all the systems, because who you are makes a difference wherever you're at. When you have the Spirit of God, even if you're not saying anything, wherever you go and walk into an atmosphere and environment, the Spirit of God will take over. So you will do right because it's in you to do right, not because people tell you to do right or make laws to force you to do right. When you get God in any environment, people that truly love God and about God, you're not going to hurt people. When you really love God, you're going to wish the best for people. You're not going to try to make laws to incarcerate certain types of people. You will do the right thing because it's in you to do the right thing. You don't have to have a law to tell you to do the right thing. So definitely getting in positions of power, getting in positions of where you the players, you come to the table where you can make decisions in the boardroom, you the executive, you the sergeants, you are, wherever you find yourself, you bring you, and wherever you go, you bring God, because he lives in you, and God makes a difference in any situation.
And I'm going to make a delineation, right? Because not of the people who need to be there necessarily, but there's a difference from. So let me say it this way: we have some people that are in positions of high places that say they go to church. They've been going to church for a very long, time, or but from a tradition standpoint, right? And what I'm praying for is that we have people who have a relationship with God, because you mentioned something about love, right? Like, when you have a heart of love, that means, I really, the people who love people, to me, they have to be connected to God, because he's the ultimate showcase of love, right? And
Definitely.
so I think if you are a person that has a relationship with God, and what I mean by that is, you have some real conversation with them, just, outside of the church tradition or religious tradition, that's the effect that we all need to strive for, I think, on a personal level. And then imagine that being a part of these systems that we're talking about, right?
Definitely.
Let me just be frank. Like, I was looking at some of the political things happening in Congress and stuff like that, and a lot of the people who claim Christianity or have that mantle of Christianity, or showing like we're doing this because of Christianity, there's no love in whatever they're doing, and you can see that in their conversations, and when they get caught up in the different backlash for some of the policies and some of the things that they want to do, you realize that it really doesn't have anything to do with Christianity, or doesn't have anything to do with belief or who God is, what God's purpose is for us, right? So,
Right.
I think that's the reason why I think it's so I want to be so clear about that is, we just need people who love the Lord and love people in these places to make some changes. That's part of it.
Definitely. I am in total agreement, because who you are will come out at work. Who you are will come out in the laws you make, because it'll bother you to make stuff that will hurt people when you have a relationship. Religion is dangerous. Relationship is purposeful. Relationship makes you do the right thing. Religion, man, you can do anything in religion. If you don't have a relationship, all you have is religion per se, and you just follow traditions and you don't have a relationship with God, you'll be subject to be doing anything in the name of religion.
In the name of religion. Like I heard a video from an atheist person, and that's one of the things they brought up. How many wars, how many people
God.
have been killed, murdered over
Religion.
the centuries for religion, for
It's the
religious
truth.
purpose. And that's definitely not, I know, the heart of God. So